This is another Black Girl podcast. We're doing our best to make it last. This is another Black Girl podcast. We're doing our best to make it last. Another Black Girl podcast.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. I am here with Allison Wellington, certified life coach, speaker, and host. She is a relationship therapist, and she is going to be on for the 3rd season. You can catch episodes here twice a month, and we're going to be talking about some relationship things and some singleness things, and basically just how to be healthy and take care of yourself in and outside of a relationship. Before I introduce her, I'm just going to quickly read her bio. Her passion is for coaching women to take ownership over their own lives before finding love. She grew up in Brooklyn, New York, where she found the grit of growing up and striving in her hometown. With her parents being immigrants to the concrete jungle, of the 1980s, New York City, and finding success here, it offered her the blueprint for what she saw was the pathway to getting what she wanted out of life. It is all on her to take hold of her life and mold it into what she wants, which I love. As a result, she pondered on how she can help others see life the same way that she does. She immediately decided to work with women who needed to learn how to turn lemons into lemonade, and more importantly, learn their role in avoiding lemons altogether. That sparked her deepest admiration for education and self-help, which led her to obtain a bachelor's degree in education and a master's degree in guidance and counseling and a master's degree in extension mental health counseling. So hi, Allison.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you and having me on your platform today.
Thank you for being here. So, in your bio, I loved the quote about, where is it?
The lemons?
Yes, that was my favorite part. So, just talk to me a little bit about what interested you in getting a bachelor's in education and then going into counseling.
Sure. So, my mom was a teacher, and I realized early in the game, maybe 8th grade or so, that I had a real knack for teaching. I would be in my algebra class and we'd be trying to figure out X or whatever, Y equals MX plus B equation of a line, one of those things that you never use again, right? Quadratic equation, whatever. And what I realized is that even though I wasn't necessarily the strongest in math, I did a very good job of being able to break down problems, especially word problems, to people in a way that they can understand using similes or metaphors or comparisons, right? So I was really solid in my ability to do that. So one, I had a really good bond with children, right? My peers, able to teach them in a way that they can understand. Now, the other side of that was the fact that I have 2 sisters, and my oldest sister is 6 years older than me. She attended Hunter College in New York, and she got a master's degree in, oh goodness, she's gonna kill me. It wasn't political science, but it was something of the sort, right? And of course, so she chose a lot of her electives to be, well, not of course, but she chose a lot of her electives to be Africana studies and things of that nature. And there were some times where she was allowed to bring a guest by her favorite teacher or favorite professor, and I was the guest, or my other sister was the guest, and I learned a lot about the struggles that African Americans face, or African people in the diaspora in general, in regards to race relations and things of that nature. So I thought to myself, I am a Black person. I want to help Black people. I have the ability to teach in a way that folks can understand and appreciate. So how can I be the most impactful to help my community? I'm going to become a teacher. More specifically, I'm going to teach history, and I'm going to make sure that my students have an understanding that there is more to Black history than the civil rights movement and slavery, right? So this is my 15-year-old mind. I was quite advanced. This is my 15-year-old mind. So I knew from a sophomore in high school, I got the knack. I had the idea in about 8th grade, but I knew since about 15 that I wanted to teach. I went to Brooklyn College. I did the degree in education, social studies, grades 7 through 12. However, when I graduated college in 2008, there was a freeze on hiring social studies teachers in New York City in the Department of Education. And I had a friend who worked at a children's psychiatric center.
Okay.
And of course, in an effort to bring some kind of continuity and some kind of like, consistency to the kids, aka the patients, they had school. Even though school was very untraditional, but there was school from 8 to 3 and they had classes and we moved around to them. They weren't allowed to move around the facility. We move around to them and we taught them English, math, science, history, art, phys ed, blah, blah, blah. And it was there when I worked at the psychiatric hospital that I came to the realization that if a student is emotionally unstable or mentally ill or whatever on that spectrum of not being in a position to function in society appropriately, then there's no way in the world that they're ever going to be able to learn. I'm here telling you that Christopher Columbus didn't discover a goddamn thing, and all you're thinking about are the traumas that you experienced, or having memories of the molestation, and having memories of being or feeling abandoned by your family, or whatever it may have been that triggered that kind of response, right? To get to the point of hospitalization. That's trust me, you're a child who's being hospitalized. It's a really big deal. So that's why I thought about mental health. So in the Department of Education, if you want to keep your teaching license, you have to get a master's degree. Now, my reading of the website said a master's degree. It didn't say a master's degree in education.
Right.
So I said, maybe I found a loophole. I'm going to do a master's degree in guidance and counseling. So I fulfilled my teaching requirements, but at the same time, I'm pivoting to mental health, but I'm still working with students. Right. And then once I got into that program, I said, I want to learn more about mental health. So that's why I did the extension in mental health counseling. And then about 7 years later is when I started my coaching track. And then we could talk about that, I'm sure, later on into the podcast.
Yeah. Honestly, that's great. I wish I knew like so early on, And I think that it's great the way you pivoted and really picked something that would benefit not only just people in general, but specifically Black people. In your bio, you also mentioned something about taking accountability and assuming responsibility for your own life. Could you tell me, was there a turning point for you? Was there a point where you were like, okay, this is it. Now I have to assume all of the responsibility, or it's only in my control?
I don't know if there was a hard and fast event that caused me to draw this conclusion. I think I saw evidence of this type of behavior and examples of this type of behavior from my mom, who both her and my dad immigrated to this country in the 80s. And once they separated, she had 3 children that she had to raise. And so instead of bitching and moaning and complaining about it, which she did her fair amount of complaining, but that's just West Indian parents in general, right? But instead of woe is me, oh my God, what are we gonna do? We're gonna go live in a shelter. No, she got 2 jobs, she bust her ass. She outrageously worked so much so that I don't even have much memory of her between ages 13 to 18.
Wow.
And so she worked hard enough where she was in a position where she could be financially stable, and she bought her first house, a house for us in Brooklyn, which now you already know, if you own a property in Brooklyn, you're damn near a millionaire.
That's a fact.
So she put herself in a position where she wasn't going to just give up just because the primary caretaker, not primary caretaker, but the primary, I guess the financier of our household, my dad, was now gone. Right. What are you going to do? You're going to be homeless? You're going to prostitute yourself? No, you're going to bust your ass. You're going to get another job. You're going to work hard. You're going to be stressed out. You're going to be overwhelmed. You're going to take care of it. You're going to suck it up. And you're going to take care of your business, and you're not going to blame everyone else for perhaps your shortcomings or perhaps your poor choices in a romantic mate that got you in the situation that you're in. And you're never going to be able to grow or change if you constantly blame everyone else. As long as everyone else is the reason why A, B, and C went wrong for you, then you're never going to learn that perhaps I could have made a different choice, which would have put me in a better position. And so that's when I adopted this ideology, which I later learned has its own name. I think it's called absolute accountability, but I didn't know that at the time. But I have this practice where I say, whenever anything goes wrong, it is 100% my fault. That's what I say in my head. Now, in reality, we know that
Right.
most things are not 100% of your
Right.
fault, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I like to take on that mindset because I feel like once I take on this, A, B, and C is 100% my fault. Now I'm going to come up with a resolution to ensure that that doesn't happen to me again. And as
Absolutely.
long as I start to attribute any of whatever went wrong to somebody else, then
Mm-hmm.
I'm never going to be in a position that I can avoid that thing 100%
Right.
again. Because
Right.
50% my fault, 50% your fault, then I'm
Mm-hmm.
never going to be able to avoid it. So I'm going to be outrageous. And if I slip and fall down someone's icy staircase, I'm going to sue. But I'm going to say, you know what? I should have been off my phone. I should have
Yep.
been holding on the rails. I knew that it was snowing. Why did I wear sneakers and not wear
Mm-hmm.
Timberland boots that has a better grip? Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to take accountability because I don't want to slip and fall again.
Okay. I like that, like, especially like with Black women. We're both Black women from New York, but it's like, in relationships we're taught it's 50-50. And even like I'm 23, but like even in like my dating life, like I've learned to be like, okay, like this is me, like I clearly have a pattern, like let me pinpoint it, let me figure out why these relationships failed. Like clearly it was me, so let me identify that now so I don't slip and fall again.
And even if, I mean, I tell people, even if you're dating a bastard, even if you were dating like a megalomaniac, a sociopath, there was something that you could have done differently before choosing that partner. And there was something you could have done during the relationship to make sure that it ended a lot earlier than when it did. Even if this person is a master manipulator. So, and this is not in an effort to beat yourself up and call you stupid. It's in an effort to make sure that you don't end up in another sociopathic relationship. Because as long as you say that he's crazy, it's his fault, and da 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 da, then when you date the next guy, then what? Then whose fault is that? We got to say, you know what? I fell for him. I didn't look for the red flags. And now that I know what this behavior looks like, I know how to avoid it again. I know how to avoid it again moving forward. You're not in a position to change anyone else's behavior. You're only in a position to change your own behavior in the hopes that it changes your outcome.
That was basically my next point about your bio, about avoiding lemons altogether. That absolute accountability definitely could help. And it has helped me, like, just take agency for and like take accountability for my partners and who I've dated and toxic traits and red flags that I definitely could have seen. Can you tell me a little bit about your ebooks? The first one is the 10 Love Commandments.
Mm-hmm. So, well, that think that was probably book number
Mm-hmm.
2, but I'll start with that one. And the 10 Love Commandments is an ebook that I wrote that outlines what are the 10 must haves to make a relationship
Okay.
healthy. What must every relationship have in order to function and beyond functionality? Because who wants to be in a functional, loving? You might want to be in a functional
Right.
work relationship because who
Right.
really cares? But you don't want to be in a functional,
Mm-hmm.
loving relationship, at least functional only. So, one, to make it functional so that it works, and 2, to make it fulfilling so that you're
Mm-hmm.
happy. And so I outlined those 10 commandments. And the reason why I call it the 10 Love Commandments is because I'm a huge fan of hip hop. I'm a huge fan of the Notorious
Mm-hmm.
B.I.G., being from Brooklyn. And he has one of his classic songs called the 10
Mm-hmm.
Crack Commandments. So I remixed it, called it the Love Commandments, and you'll see kind of in the structure, I structure it like the song. And in some of the photos that I choose throughout the ebook, I have like a Coogee sweater on. I'm taking photos in Brooklyn on
Mm-hmm.
his street, on Fulton Street, to kind of just give an ode and a love to hip hop. So I'm tying in my own personality. But in essence, it just really outlines what are the necessities in order to, one, create a healthy relationship, or if you're already in a romantic relationship, how do you test? How do you know that it's healthy? And what things can you actually put in place? Because it's easy to create a list, but I need some next steps. I need
Right.
some action. What can I do in order to correct some of the unhealthy traits my romantic relationship has? Because it's worth keeping,
Right.
but there's room for improvement.
Absolutely. And I feel like me and my boyfriend were just having this conversation a little bit ago. I asked him like what are the things that I can work on? Like what are the things that I can do? Because of course like relationships are great, but I always believe that there's always something you should be working on. There should always be actionable items, always goals in mind. And in relationships where I've realized I was kind of like chilling, whatever, where we didn't have actionable items or any kind of goals, that's where it went kind of stale and
Mm-hmm.
gray.
Mm-hmm.
can you talk to me about your next book? I love the title, Move On, Sis.
Yes. So that was actually the first one. And it was an ebook that I still offer. It's still available on my website. And it's called Move On Sis, but really it's useful for any gender. And it outlines what you need to do in order to move on from a relationship that is dead. Now, many times we know that the relationship is over, folks have broken up and you no longer communicate, but you're still harping over that person. So how do you move on from that harp so that you could perhaps have some time for yourself and then transition into another relationship if you see fit? So one of the key items that I outlined in the book, Move On, Sis, one of the things that really sticks with me, I believe is number 3 on the list, which is get off of their social media. So
that's a big one.
You got to get off their social media. And let me tell you why. Anything that does not serve you is a waste of your time. Anything in life, right? So why are you on their social media page? What is on their profile that is going to serve you? Let me tell you what you might see. You may see that they're out with their friends having a good old time.
Yep.
What is that going to do for you? Is that going to upset you because you're thinking to yourself, I'm here depressed and sad, and this guy is out here having a good old time, right? You may see that they're sad and pathetic and posting a whole bunch of memes about how distraught they are about the fact that you guys have broken up. How does that serve you if he's not communicating that to you directly to say, babes, I'm heartbroken and I want to give it another shot? If he's not sending it to you directly, then what's the benefit? You may see that he or she, but I'm saying he in this particular example, has moved on and they have a new boo. Now you're sad because they've moved on, you haven't. Or now you're angry because you're thinking to yourself, how the hell did they move on so quickly? It must have been, which is not a fact, but that's the assumption. It must have been that they were dating that person the whole time. Again, how does that serve you? It is of no benefit for you to be a weirdo stalker and to be on their profile, checking out what they're doing or what they're not doing. There is literally nothing that is going to give you. It's not going to give you any solace. It's not going to make you feel any better. Even if you see the sad post, you think, oh, he misses me too, but he's not selling it to you. He's selling it to the world. So what benefit is that to you? Get off of their social media. It does nothing for your healing process. It does not make you a better person, and it will not help you find a more appropriate match moving forward.
What would an ideal client for you look like?
Oh, no one's ever asked me that before. Look at you.
Oh, really?
Caring about me. Yeah. So an ideal client for me, and this is no offense to all the young folks who are listening, but I'll explain why it's important to me. An ideal client to me is a Black woman who is established in her career. She has reached many of her personal goals. She is over 33-ish. She believes in the sanctity of marriage and wants to be married. And she wants to have children. And I'm going to tell you why all of that is important to me. So this avatar is what they call it in coaching. This avatar is important to me because that is who I am. I am a Black woman in my mid-30s who's reached a lot of her personal goals and aspirations. I believe in the sanctity of marriage. I am married and I want to have children. So I find that person is the best match for me as a client because she and I are the same. I understand her struggles. I understand her desires. I understand the pressure that she's been under. When you are more established in your career, you can afford the services, right? So, and by default, if you're more established in your career, you tend to be older, which is why I would prefer someone in their 30s. And if you've achieved personal goals in your life, this is quote unquote the last piece, is romantic partnership, which is why you're hiring me to help you find it. Then you know who you are, you're confident in who you are, and that's just literally the last piece of the puzzle. Versus if I'm working with a client who's younger, they tend not to be solid in their career, which means they probably can't even afford me in the first place. And then they're still trying to find themselves. And if you're still trying to find yourself while trying to find a partner, it's quite difficult for you to be able to narrow down exactly what you want in a mate. And my methodology behind helping clients find what they want in a mate is that they have to have some level of experience. Tell me what
Mm-hmm.
was good about your last mate, what wasn't so good about your last mate, what qualities you have that you want amplified or you want matched. And so if you're telling me you never really had a boyfriend before or a girlfriend,
Mm-hmm.
you don't really have much experience in that area to know what's good or what's not, you are not
Right.
even really clear on your own identity, how it's going to be quite difficult to find someone for the long term. So those, I'm sure in
Uh-huh.
your listenership who are close to you in age,
Mm-hmm.
I know that you probably think your boyfriend is going to be the end all be all. And I'm going to lovingly tell you that the statistically,
Statistically, no. Yeah.
yeah, don't let your boyfriend
Oh
hear
yeah.
this one. Statistically,
Maybe I.
you're
Yeah.
23, you're living in a metropolitan, you're going to, and if you intend to be married, you're probably going to have about 4 more boyfriends until you get to that guy. That's just stats. People grow and change and they don't want the same things. I mean, when I was in high school, I had a nameplate belt. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not rocking the same stuff that I was rocking in 2003. So, right, I had an Aniche sweatsuit
Mm-hmm.
and people were, I wasn't wearing it, but it was really popular to wear like the spray paint
Mm-hmm.
shirts that you get from Kings Plaza Mall in
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn and Flatbush, you know? Are you
Right.
I'm not rocking what I used to rock. I'm not, well, I kind of do speak the way I actually still do speak the same way in terms of slang. They do say that. And they say
Mm-hmm.
usually the music that you listen to at 14 is like your favorite music of all time. So there are some elements that do stick with you.
Mm-hmm.
But generally speaking.
Thank you for staying tuned. This is another Black Girl podcast. Before I move on, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about Anchor, which is the forum I use to publish and share my podcast, Another Black Girl podcast, with you. It is absolutely free, and there are creation tools that allow me to record and re-record and re-record and edit my podcast from my phone and or my computer. It distributes my podcast so I can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Castbox, I think it is, and a whole lot of other platforms. I can make money from my podcast with no minimum listenership because of the ads. Anchor also finds the ads for you, honorable mention, and it's basically everything you need in a podcast. So it gives you some transition music and some pretty cool features, some data, some analytics, some cool looking charts, and yeah, it's a great forum to publish your podcast on. So if you wish to start one, go to anchor.fm to get started. I got you.
You know?
Do people usually assume that you have like your relationship together since you are a relationship coach?
I don't know what they assume. I would assume that they assume that, yes. And I
Okay.
don't think they're outrageous for assuming so. And I don't think that anyone is outrageous for wanting to hire someone who has what they have. I would not
Right.
hire a broke CPA.
Oh,
I
nah.
would not hire a hairstylist who had bald spots. So I don't think that if there are people who assume that my relationship is going well, I understand why they assume so, and I would expect for them to do so. Now, I have had people who have asked me, "Are you even married?" And so I get why they ask. I think it's rude. I get why
Yeah, it
they
is.
ask that, and I am married, and I know that the fact that I'm married helps me in my business. I
Right.
know that it does. Because again, people want to aspire to their coach. They want to
Right.
be the best of the best. And so if your desire is to be married, which is the primary desire of most of my clients, I've only had 2 clients who've told me that marriage itself didn't matter to them and they just wanted a solid long-term partnership.
Okay.
If marriage matters to you, and that's what I help women to get to, partnership, which is the language I use. I don't use the word language, the word marriage. Then yeah, they want and expect me to be happy and fulfilled. And I think that there is value in having a coach that has been heartbroken if you're looking for a romantic coach or romance coach. But I don't think that person should be heartbroken in the moment teaching you how to be happy.
Definitely. My next question was, how do you avoid a lemon? And I think I feel like you already answered that with the topic of the absolute accountability. But is there anything else?
Yeah, there's more. So yes, you can avoid the next lemon with absolute accountability, right? So that means that you must have slipped and fell first. And so now I'm not going to walk down the street while I'm looking at my cell phone. I'm going to hold on to hand railings. And I'm going to wear the appropriate shoes when I go outside. But that's the next lemon. How do I avoid the first lemon? There's an expression, I'm going to get it absolute wrong. It's something along the lines of like, smart people learn from their own mistakes, and wise people learn from the mistakes of others. I think that's the expression.
I've heard that. I've heard something similar to that.
So I say that to say, how do you avoid lemons? It's learning from the failures of others. So I have seen people fall while they were on their cell phone, not holding on to the railings and not wearing the right shoes. So I am not going to test the theory if I can get away with it. Moving forward, every single time I go outside, because I saw such and such bust their ass yesterday, right? I'm gonna make sure that I have blah 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 and blah 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 that I just listed in order to make sure that I'm not the one who's busting my ass.
What would be like the approximate like timetable? So let's say I was your avatar, 35, established, I'm missing this last puzzle piece. If I was single and wanted to consult you, a relationship coach, even if I was single, would that be appropriate?
So that's exactly who I work with. So I am a relationship coach who primarily work with women to help them find the love and commitment that they deserve. So that is it, a single woman. I don't do, at least as of right now, I do not do couples coaching.
Okay.
And nor do I do marriage coaching. My area of expertise through my personal experience has been, how do I go from a relationship that did not serve me to my marriage that is overabundant of love and appreciation and every other adjective that's imaginable, right? So that's my area of expertise. So that's what I do. I've only been married for 5 months. So I don't feel like I have the experience to work with a married couple.
Right.
Maybe, 5 to 7 years from now, when I feel really like I have the experience and I'm deeply rooted in it, then I would expand. But my area of expertise is to work with women. So the way that I do it, first of all, I have a whole lot of freebies because I believe that information should be accessible to all. And if there are folks who are not in a position to afford a pro, I like to offer my ebooks for free. I have a free training and I go on live 3 times a week. One of them taking relationship questions, doing Q&A, and the other 2 talking about very specific issues, so that you're gathering information for free in a very targeted way, right? So that's one way that I just offer to my audience ways that they can improve their relationship or find the partner that they deserve. If you wanted to work with me as a pro, there are 2 services that I offer. One of them I call alignment calls, because the name of my business is Align with Allison. So I need you to align with me, right? We need to be here, right? Yep. For those who can't see, we're doing the 2-finger eye back and forth, making a connection. So with the alignment calls, it's you have a particular issue. There's an issue at hand, and it could be about anything. It could be with your current partner. It could be with your sister, with your job, whatever it is. You have a particular problem, and you're looking for advice from someone who has no vested interest. I have no dog in the fight. I don't care who wins or who loses. I'm going to tell you flat out if you were right or if you were wrong and what you should do moving forward. Right. And so those are one-offs. That's, I have a particular problem and I'd like some guidance from a pro who won't care in either direction what happens, but they're non-judgmental and they're going to give me the best piece of advice that the Lord has to offer. Right. Those are alignment calls. But then I also have a coaching program. So in my coaching program titled The Partner You Deserve, that's when I work with either individuals or small groups through strategies to, 1, better yourself, to make yourself the best version of you. And the reason why that's imperative is because, especially for women, we have these lofty ideas about the partner that we want. However, we are sometimes nowhere near as successful or as well-rounded as the person that we want, or we can't match them. Right. So we want a guy who makes $100,000 and we work at Chick-fil-A. I'm gonna need you to be practical. Right. Birds of a feather flock together. So as long as you work at Chick-fil-A, there are other circumstances, you could be drop dead gorgeous and have an amazing spirit, and then the Bentley drive goes to the drive-through and maybe you meet this guy and it works. Relatively speaking, you surround yourself with the people who are most likely you. They say like you're an average of the 5 people you hang out with, blah, blah, blah. So if you work at the Chick-fil-A, you're probably going to date a guy who works at Target.
Right.
And can you be mad? No, you need to elevate yourself so you're even in the room with
Mm-hmm.
people who make that. If you want a godly man, however, you're thought and bopping, that's not practical. So I need women to first be reflective. And that's the work that we do in our coaching program,
Mm-hmm.
so that we realize what our unattractive traits are, what our toxic traits are, problematic traits. We work on those things so we can become the best
Mm-hmm.
version of us. And it's a continuous process, even after the coaching sessions, right? Like you're constantly, or you should be constantly working on yourself to be the best version of you.
Right.
So we do that. And then once we have a solid plan in place as to how we're going to improve our characteristics, our behavior, our appearance, whatever it is that needs improvement, once we have a solid plan in place that we're working and we're working the plan, then we start talking about, how do I find a match? What
Mm-hmm.
dating apps are the most appropriate for me? What kind of profile should I create and put together in order to attract the right mates and repel the wrong ones? Once I'm matched, what kind of questions do I ask a gentleman so that I'm vetting him?
Mm-hmm.
What tools can I add to my toolkit so that as I meet people moving forward, I know how to assess whether or not this is an appropriate match early in the game, so we're not wasting 2 years on
Right.
some guy that
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a good match from the absolute beginning. And we knew that, and we took a chance because, again, my clients being in their 30s, I don't have time to be taking chances,
Right.
especially if I believe in marriage and I believe in having children in the confines of marriage.
Right.
I'm 37. I don't have 2 years to waste.
Mm-hmm.
And again, for the lovely 23-year-olds who are listening, date, have fun,
Mm-hmm.
explore. Now, let's not wait too long, because again, we have to date, then find a boyfriend, then get to engagement if that's your desire, then get to
Mm-hmm.
marriage. So around like 27, you need to start buckling down and getting serious if you desire a long-term partner.
Right.
So that's who we're talking to. If you like the idea of being the lifelong bachelor or bachelorette, then it's all good. There's no judgment. I'm only
Right.
talking to the people who want that long-term commitment. At 27, you're going to need to settle and start dating with intention, meaning we're not dating for fun. We're not dating for a meal. That's some bummy stuff that's not cool and not funny. You go on a date with a guy because you want to try this steak at some restaurant that you couldn't afford under normal circumstances. That's a bum life. We're not doing that. We're not using people and putting that kind of karma out in the air and in the atmosphere.
That's
and then we're surprised when folks use us back. You're dating with intention because you're looking for a partner who you want to live and grow and develop with and have a legacy with. So that's the coaching program. Working on you and having solid tools on how to date in this scene during these times in the midst of COVID.
I like that. So if you are a part, or even if you're not a part and would like some more information, you can email info@alignwithallison.com. Again, you can reach Allison and check in and see if you would be interested, find out some more information at info@alignwithallison.com. So one common question in relationship coaching is, does a relationship coach tell me and my partner, or tell like my person, not person, but my partner, to break up with me?
So again, so with my coaching program, it's for single women. So I would never be in that position.
Okay.
But if I received a call, I did receive an alignment call. And with an alignment call, what I do is different. Like, it's when you coach, you are asking strategic questions for folks to come to their own conclusion, to make their own decisions, right? Which is similar to therapy in that regard. Many times in coaching, unless you're giving specific tools, do this profile and do this and write this and delete that. But relatively speaking, when you're doing self-help, you don't tell people what to do. My alignment calls, you are calling me because you want me to tell you what to do. So when you do an alignment call, it's a one-off call. You tell me what the problem is. You tell me what your boyfriend did. You tell me what your girlfriend did. And I need all the context. I need you to be honest. And I'm going to tell you, if you're not being honest, then my advice is not going to be useful to you. I need to know the entire truth. And then, yes, because that's the purpose of you calling me, I will tell you that I think you need to consider leaving this guy because you reported to me he did A, B, and C. And I cannot imagine that that's something that is worth forgiving. So in an alignment call, a one-off call, because that's specifically what you're calling me for. And even the way that I say it, I say things like, you can do whatever you want to do. If I were
Mm-hmm.
you, I would leave a man who did blah, blah, blah. If I were you, I would repair the relationship with
Right.
my sister if my sister did what your sister did. If I were you,
Right.
I understand that is your mother, but if she were my
Mm-hmm.
mother and she mistreated me my whole life, I would end the relationship.
Right.
Because, again, absolute accountability. Don't say that
Right.
Allison said. Allison said, if it were Allison, you do what you think is best for you.
Right. And I think that a common misconception when speaking to relationship coaches is that they think it always has to be romantic, you know? So I like that you talk about mothers and sisters, you know, job relationships, even. Like, I think that's definitely good. So before each, either an alignment call or a coaching program, there's also a consultation, right?
Yes. Yes. So for the alignment calls, it's straightforward. You know, you have a particular problem.
Mm-hmm.
You book a call. You get on the phone with me. It's a one-off call. We speak for an hour. You tell me the
Mm-hmm.
whole story. I tell you what Allison would do. You then choose accordingly.
Okay.
For the coaching program, because it's long term, is an 8-week program, and we have to see on both sides whether or not we are a good fit for each other.
Mm-hmm.
So first, we do the consultation call, which is free, and I ask a series of questions in order to assess where you are and where you want to be. And then from there, I make a determination whether or not I think my program is a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you, I am not money hungry, and I want my clients to feel as though I have helped them and have evidence that I have helped them,
Mm-hmm.
because word of mouth is the best way to get business.
Right.
So I am not in a position, nor do I have a desire to push a service onto someone where it's not a good fit.
Right.
So I myself have denied a few folks,
Okay.
and let them know that the coaching program isn't a good fit. And
Mm-hmm.
usually the reason is because therapy is more appropriate. If they share with me that their traumas are extensive,
Okay.
that means that that's beyond my scope.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd recommend that they go to a therapist first to work out a lot of the traumas that they've been through in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they've done that, if they have difficulty dating, then they reach back out to me if they so choose.
Mm-hmm.
So we do the consultation. I ask a series of questions. I figure out where they are and where they want to be and whether or not I believe I'm in a position to help them. And then I would offer my service to them. I explain the program to them, which they usually already know because they've probably been following me for a while. They watch my free training, which I highly recommend that you do that first and use the freebies first before you even bother to reach out, because what are you paying for if you can have success on the free stuff?
Right.
And then I explain the program to them, and then I ask them whether or not they'd like to get started. They say yes, they say no, and we move forward accordingly.
Okay. And if you are curious about any of the testimonials, Allison offers that on her website, which is, again, alignwithallison.com, where you can find all her socials and all of her freebies, and her email if you wish to contact her. So this episode is going to be dropping on Valentine's Day. Is there anything else that you would want to say to the single girls?
I know it's easier said than done, and I too have felt the pressures, not only the pressures from society, but biological pressures. And again, your audience is a bit younger, but I'm around 27, 28. And I mean, I don't have any medical background, but I know that it's true. I know there's a biological
but even at 23, people be like,
that you feel. There's a literal turning in my stomach and in my chest that's telling me have a baby. Like when people say, what's the expression, like my uterus or my ovaries, like that's real. Yes,
like
my
ovaries are
screaming.
It
is real, I'm telling you. And so you're going to feel the pressure biologically. You're going to feel the pressure socially to get involved in a romantic relationship, to find a partner, to get married, to have children. And what I would implore you is to, yes, take action. If you want a serious partner, then you may have to start changing your behavior, changing who you hang out with, dating with intention. You can learn all about that from me or YouTube, right? You can Google it about how to date with intention, but try your best not to make poor decisions, i.e. getting with someone that you know that's not an appropriate match, getting back with someone without resolving whatever the issue was prior. Do not try, just try your best. I know it's not easy. Try your best not to allow those pressures to make you choose or make poor choices. Like, just try your best. If that means you need to get off of social media on Valentine's Day, on Christmas Day, on New Year's, when everyone is dropping to a knee, then do that. Like,
That's
do
good.
what you can.
Yep.
Be careful of the pages that you follow on social media. If you need to unfollow some negative Nancy pages, pages that talk about men ain't this and women ain't that, and a whole bunch of gossip pages, and fill yourself with positivity, it will make a difference. You know, they say you are what you eat, you are what you ingest. And so you choose the right podcasts and you choose the right social media pages that's going to fill you up. If it means going to church, if it means reading the Bible, if it means reading self-help books, whatever it means for you, fill yourself with positivity and try your best to avoid those pressures. It will allow you to make clear-minded decisions moving forward.
Do what you can. Definitely do what you can. I know when I was single, there was some Instagram page and it was like me and somebody's son, and it was like all the cute relationship pictures. Meanwhile, you crying because you just broke up with your boo, you know, like it was bad. And like there was a point in my life where I was like, I can't do this, you know? And it's like almost torture, like torment. Like,
yes.
You're tormenting yourself, especially when you're looking on like your ex's pages and stuff.
Yes. Tormenting yourself.
Especially on the holidays, the Valentine's Day, the New Year's Day, the Christmas Day. It's real. The single world, it's real. The single struggle is real. I believe that is all of the time that we definitely have today. But again, if you want to book Allison, if you want some more information, you can go to her website at alignwithallison.com. You can book an alignment call or find out more about the coaching program at info@alignwithallison.com. I am so grateful that you were here today. Thank you for joining this episode, and thank you for hopping on, or a couple of episodes at the very least. I appreciate you.
Yes, not a problem. It's been a pleasure.
So to all the Black women out there, we love you, and we're going to be doing our best this Valentine's Day. And as always, you can follow me, your host, Lauren, Lori, Laura, whatever, at www.anotherbg.com. Thank you. We're doing our best to make it last. This is another Black Girl Podcast. We're doing our best to make it last. Another Black Girl Podcast.